death, and that God is a loving God who wants only our greatest good. We are spiritual beings having an earthly experience as we learn lessons for our individual growth. Spiritualism firmly believes that change for the better is always open to each of us, and that the ultimate expression of love is loving your neighbor as yourself. So one of the things that we like about having this service is people get to come in and meet other people and make new friends. So if you could turn to somebody next to you or behind you and just say hi. I like the wave. I like the wave. I'm going to wave too. Okay, so I'm going to open with prayer. Infinite Spirit, thank you for this day and the opportunity to learn and grow. Please guide my thoughts and actions and help me to always be a source of peace and love. Amen. Okay, and I'm going to turn it over to Reverend Irene for meditation.
We're first going to have Reverend Connie Griffith.
Oh,
Right before meditation, we're going to have Reverend Connie Griffith do a reading. And then we'll have meditation.
thanks, Connie.
Well, Irene asked me to bring something tonight, had to do with mothers, since we're celebrating Mother's Day this coming weekend. And I found this from quite a long time ago, and I thought it was pretty good. So it's when mothers were created. When the Lord was creating mothers, he was into the 6th day of overtime, when an angel appeared and said, "You're doing a lot of fiddling around on this one." And the Lord said, "Have you read the specifications on this order? She has to be completely washable, but not plastic. Have 180 movable parts, all replaceable. Run on black coffee and leftovers. Have a lamp that disappears when she stands up. A kiss that can cure everything, from a broken leg to a disappointed love affair. And 6 pairs of hands." The angel shook her head slowly and said, "6 pairs of hands? No way. It's not the hands that are causing me the problems," the Lord said. "It's the 3 pairs of eyes that mothers have." "And that's from the standard model?" the angel asked. The Lord nodded. What she has to know, and of course, the eyes here in front that can look at a child when he goofs up and say, "I understand and I love you," without even uttering a word. "Lord," said the angel, touching his sleeve gently, "come to bed." "Oh, I can't," said the Lord. "I'm so close to creating something so close to myself. Already, I have one who heals herself when she's sick, can feed a family of 6 on 1 pound of hamburger, and get a 9-year-old to stand under the shower." The angel circled the model of the mother very slowly. "It's too soft," she sighed. "But tough," the Lord said excitedly. "You cannot imagine what this mother can do or endure." "Can it think?" asked the angel. "Not only think, it can reason and compromise," said the Creator. Finally, the angel bent over and ran her finger across the mother's cheek. "There's a leak," said the angel. "I told you that you were trying to put too much into this model." "It's not a leak," said the Lord. It's a tear. What's it for? Asked the angel. It's for joy, sadness, disappointment, pain, loneliness, and pride. You're a genius, said the angel. The Lord looked somber and said, I didn't put the tear there.
Thank you. Thank you so very much. I'm sure all of us, or many of us, can relate to some or a good bit of that poem. Thank you. And now we're going into a short meditation time. So make yourself comfortable. If you have anything on your lap, take it, just put it aside. And we're going to do this with closed eyes. All right. So there'll be a period of silence too. And we'll go directly into sending out healing. It's part of this meditation. So we're going to start with a breath and just let go. Just breathe out and just breathe out fatigue from the day or hurry from the day or any details that you've been busy with. Just let them go while you're here in this sacred space. They can wait till later. Put them up on a shelf. Let them go. And then just inhale new vitality, new patience, new calm and loving energy. Breathing in as deeply as possible, and then gently just letting go, breathing out again. We'll do that 2 more times. We're going to breathe in again and do this at your own pace. Breathing in love, breathing in harmony, breathing in wisdom, and letting go at your own pace of anything that does not serve you. On our next breath, welcome fortitude within. Welcome upliftment. Welcome a brighter day. And that knowing that it is possible. And then with the last breath out, we just empty ourselves of any impatience, unkindness. We let those traces go. They're not ours to keep. And so as we settle into this gentle breathing, we feel like a whispering quiet come over us, coming over us from the top of our heads, moving down through our neck and shoulders, just letting go of any tension in our bodies. And we open ourselves up to the light that is within us, always. Whether small or large, it's there, and we're opening to it. And we're feeling it uplifting us bit by bit. It comes in from the top of our beings, all the way down. We feel and we agree with this brightness, this upliftment, this special energy that comes, that's divine, and that is our birthright. We feel it surround us and uplift us, and we start to rest in that energy and know its peace and its calm, its brightness around our heart. We feel that third eye of ours awakening and opening to the grace that's around us. And we're going to take some time to just abide there in silence, in this peace, to rest in our oneness with the divine. And with your eyes still closed, bring your attention once again to your breath. Feel the gentle rise and fall of your chest. Now, visualize a rose pink healing light. Imagine a beautiful rose pink light emanating from your heart, filling you with love and compassion. Begin now to send the light outward. Extend this light outwards, encompassing your family, friends, community, and then the entire planet. And now imagine a world of peace. Imagine a world where there is no conflict, only understanding, respect, and cooperation. Continue to see the world surrounded by this beautiful light. Feel the connection. Sense the interconnectedness of all beings and the planet, knowing that your actions and thoughts have an impact on the world. Hold this vision of a healed and peaceful world in your heart, knowing that you are a part of the process. Begin now to gradually return to your body. Notice the sensation of your body, the gentle rise and fall of your breath, and slowly open your eyes. How was that? Isn't that beautiful? Know that this healing light and energy will stay where you sent it, and know you made a difference. Okay, and if you need to, you can wiggle your fingers and toes and shift your breath. And we're going to go right to our song that's in your order of service. I'd like you to, if you feel like it, stand up and sing together, What a Wonderful World.
Thanks, Connie, for that awesome reading. I loved it. Loved it. Okay, so Mark Thomas is a native of Rockford, Illinois. Mark's early spiritual development came from his family, who were actively engaged in the United Methodist Church. After completing his Bachelor of Science degree in 1975 at the University of Illinois in Recreation and Parks Administration, Mark held the position of director of a 500-acre recreation and educational field campus. In 1982, Mark and his wife Elaine moved to Chautauqua County, New York. In 1988, Elaine and Mark, along with their friends, founded Fellowships of the Spirit and its School of Spiritual Healing and Prophecy. Also during that time, Mark started a consulting and training business, which he successfully ran until 1997. In addition to business pursuits from 92 to 97, Mark was elected and served as town official. And then following that service, he was elected and served as Chautauqua County Executive from 1998 to 2005. After his elected service, Mark returned to his original career as the Western District Director of New York State Parks. From his office at Niagara Falls, he served as the administrator in charge of 40 state parks and parkways throughout Western New York State. In 2018, Mark retired from full-time government service and is currently serving as an adjunct instructor for the University of Illinois. Over the years, Mark's desire for spiritual development has brought him to study Vedic, Buddhist, Taoist, and mystical Christian teachings with a variety of teachers and writers from around the world. He currently serves as pastor of Fellowships of the Spirit Church in Cassadaga, New York. Mark teaches classes in advanced meditation practices at Fellowship's School of Spiritual Healing and Prophecy and to its graduates. And Mark resides now in New York's Chautauqua County. And Mark is one of our favorite speakers. We love hearing what he has to say. And I give you Mark Thomas.
Thank you, Andy. Good evening. It's great being back here again. In February, when I was here last, it was both dark and cold. And I really appreciate the seasonal shift that has happened. We all count on every year here in Western New York. And I also am very grateful for this church, this Faith United Church of Christ congregation that opens its doors to us to use this facility. It's an incredible space, and I appreciate their graciousness. And so that being said, when I was here in February, I talked about the need for us to reach out to folks to, as I said, I left you with a call to build bridges that can bring us over instead of walls that tear us down. And the necessity for contact leading to conversation leading to deep connection with our fellow human beings. And that we're in a time of great change, transformation here, both in the United States and around the world. That is a very crucial part of our lives, that we stay connected to each other. I am a child of the 60s. I grew up at a time where there was great turmoil here in the country. It was the Vietnam War. When I was in high school, you had the women's movement, you had environmental movement, civil rights movement, all going on at the same time. It was a time of great transformation here in the country. And so there was a poem that I was taught about in high school, and it was a Robert Frost poem, and it's called Mending Wall. And I'd like to read that poem to you this evening to start out my presentation. Something there is that does, this is from 1914, so it's a 111-year-old poem. Something there is that doesn't love a wall. It sends the frozen ground swell under it and spills the upper boulders in the sun and makes gaps even two can pass abreast. The work of hunters is another thing. I have come after them and made repair where they have left not one stone on stone, but they would have a rabbit out of hiding to please their yelping dogs. The gaps, I mean, no one has seen them made or heard them made, but it's springtime, mending time. We find them here. I let my neighbor know beyond the hill. On a day we meet to walk the line and set that wall between us once again. To each the boulders that have fallen to each, and some are loaves and some are nearly balls, and we have to use a spell to make them balance. Stay where you are until our backs are turned. We wear out our fingers with a roughness and with handling them. Oh, just another kind of outdoor game. One on a side, it comes to little more. There where it is, we do not need a wall. He is all pine and I am apple orchard. My apple trees will never get across and eat the cones under his pines. I tell him, but he says, good fences make good neighbors. Spring is the mischief in me, and I wonder if I could put a notion in his head. If I could put that notion, why do they make good neighbors? Isn't it that where there are cows, but there are no cows? Before I built a wall, I had asked to know, what was I walling in? or walling out. And to whom I was like to give offense. Something there is that doesn't love a wall that wants it down. I could say elves to him, but it's not the elves exactly. And I'd rather he said it for himself. I see him there bringing a stone grasped firmly by the top in each hand like an old stoned savage armed. He moves in the darkness, it seems to me. Not of woods only and shade of tree. He will not go behind his father's saying. And he likes having thought of it so well. He says again, good fences make good neighbors. Robert Frost, Mending Wall. I'd like to talk with you about the topic this evening is forgiveness, a tall order in turbulent times. Forgiveness is one of those things that can get in the way of our being and staying connected with each other. And one of the books that in the last year that has had a big impact on me was a book called The Book of Joy, The Lasting Happiness in a Changing World. And it is a conversation that is recounted in this book between two old friends, the Dalai Lama and Desmond Tutu. It was the last conversation where the two of these gentlemen got together before the bishop passed away. And he was quite ill while the conversation was going on. But the two of them were like a couple of kids playing together. They had so much fun. If you haven't read that book, I highly recommend it. And also on Audible, it's available too. And it's a tremendous story, but it's also about the lives of two men. One who's lived in exile most of his life and harbors no resentment towards the Chinese people and government. And the other who's lived under the apartheid system in South Africa for most of his life. And how the two of them who carry no bitterness, no hatred, no resentment towards those structures and governments and people. And it's very inspiring to hear them recount their stories. And one of the stories that is talked about in that book is about a man who spent 30 years on death row in Alabama for a murder he did not commit. He was at work at the time the murder was committed. He couldn't possibly have been in two places at the same time. His name was Anthony Ray Hinton. He was released after a 9-0 Supreme Court ruling in his favor. He was interviewed on 60 Minutes, and the correspondent asked him, how can you not be angry with the people who took away 30 years of your life? Hinton responded, if I am angry and unforgiving, they will have taken the rest of my life as well. They will have taken the rest of my life as well. See, offenses and disappointments are a part of life. It's our choice how we resolve them. Failure to forgive others condemns us to a life from our past. It condemns our future at the same time. And we just made our past equal to our future. And that's something that we do quite often with life when we don't let go of things that have happened in the past. We require the future to look like the past, and we set it up. And so it fulfills just exactly that. Forgiveness, one of the most challenging and misunderstood spiritual concepts of our culture and this age. The common focus is upon forgiveness as if it's something we extend to other people. But the real work is within us and must happen first. The second step is by extension to another person. These turbulent times require us to be clear about our values and our actions. Forgiveness is one of life's most challenging stances in times such as these. For this talk, I will focus on ways to respond with integrity while holding compassion for others who operate from values that are different from our own. We are surrounded daily by the wholesale harboring and spewing of resentments, fears, contempt, bigotry, disgust, indifference, cynicism, and rage, along with a few others. This has become epidemic in this climate where the political and the economics are so heavily focused on keeping you and me alone, isolated, suspicious, miserable enough to buy whatever is being sold our direction. And yet, I'm reminded of Robert Frost's words, making good neighbors, followed by something there is that doesn't love a wall. Bitterness eats us up from the inside out. We cannot do compassion and bitterness at the same time. It's impossible to hold both of those emotions at the same time. Bitterness held on to leads us to numbness. And numbness prevents us from feeling compassion. That's compassion for each other, but it's also compassion for ourselves. This is all reversible. Forgiveness frees us from past errors which have been committed against us. It enables us to begin on a new path of life. Blaming doesn't heal anybody, but pardoning does. Forgiveness strengthens the disheartened. Forgiveness renews and refreshes our trust and faith in ourselves and in other people. Metaphysically speaking, remember, what we send out to the world is just a copy. We keep the original ourselves because we created it. The authentic pattern stays with us because we are the source. Also, though, it's true for when we create a different pattern. That pattern is about projecting love, acceptance, and forgiveness. That's what we are the source of, that we're sending out in our world. Something there is that doesn't love a wall. Back to Desmond Tutu, he had a way that he taught for decades for people to get through the bitterness and hatred and the just horrendous treatment that his people suffered under apartheid. He had a 4-step program that he taught. First one is to tell your story, facing the truth by telling your story, writing it truthfully, speak it to a confidant. Tell it as if you're watching it in a movie versus you're just reliving it. The next step was name the hurt, name the pain, name what it is that's got you worked up, got you upset, got you feeling beaten down or burdened. Ask yourself the question, when have I felt like this before? And the second question, will this pain affect me in my future? The third step was grant forgiveness. Accept the shared humanity of the one who has hurt you. Accept that they are acting out their own suffering as well. Accept you can release the desire for retaliation or revenge, and then finally you can extend forgiveness at that point. But you need to go through those earlier steps so that your forgiveness is not just making nice or being courteous without resolution. And then you're faced with renewing or releasing that relationship, either deciding to renew and release the relationship and moving on, or staying in connection with that person. And sometimes moving on is all that's left to be done, but you're no longer carrying the past with you. It's no longer injuring you. It's no longer injuring them or anybody else because you've let it go. And yet there's one more part to this forgiveness thing, and that's about what we do for ourselves. You know, we were raised in a world where quite often in religious traditions we're taught that God is an ornery being, judgmental, nasty, mean. angry, scary, and graceless and unforgiving. And if you were raised in a religious tradition that landed in that way of looking at the divinity of God, it's real hard for you to deal with yourself any differently or the people in your life any differently than that ultimately. But if you have a different perspective that God is a God of grace and that there is absolutely nothing you can do that's going to add to the love that's yours or take away from it, that's grace. I love in the Bible, in the book, the letter to the Romans from Paul, he writes in the 8th chapter, "For I'm convinced that neither death, nor life, nor angels, nor rulers, nor things present, nor things to come, nor powers, nor heights, nor depths, nor anything in all of creation will be able to separate you from the love of God." That's grace. Nothing can separate us from that divinity. And so when nothing can separate us from divine love and grace in this way, that's so complete as such, I have to ask you, is there anything that you've done that is so bad in your own life that you can't let it go? The divine source has already let it go. It's just you that would be holding on to it at that point. And that is the root of a whole lot of our time. When we can't let go of the stuff that we carry, burdens we carry of shame or guilt that get in the way of our own healing and our own moving on. We can only put out in the world what we have to give inside. And if we're carrying those burdens, it's time to let them go. We can set a new point to start from. This forgiving ourselves allows us then to be able to reconnect with other people in ways because we're no longer carrying the hurt that is getting in the way of those relationships being in a connected state. The Bishop Tutu model, which is also very much akin, if any of you have studied the mindfulness approaches of Buddhism, it's very much akin to that. It's very much aligned, and it works on yourself as well as in how you want to reconnect or forgive other people. You see, forgiveness calls us to release our heart from self-imposed burdens so that we may live in the fullness of each and every moment instead of tying those moments up and our future as well with self-limiting condemnations or past experiences. We are called to love one another, and yet we don't have to love what other people do, even though we can still love them. And that was the message of Gandhi. That was the message of Dr. King. It was the message of Rosa Parks. And the list goes on and on. Because then you're not carrying what it is that someone has done, because you can love through them to the essence of who they are. Then you don't carry those burdens and those bitternesses. The walls come down. The better angels of our nature shines forth. Before I build a wall, says Robert Frost, I had asked to know, what was I walling in and what was I walling out? And to whom I was like to give open. Something there is, he wrote, doesn't love a wall. And as I said in February, forgiveness requires us to build bridges that bring us over instead of walls that tear us down. And it's time, folks. We're living in a world where there's just so much strife. And it's up to each and every one of us to make the difference in those individual relationships that we are in every day. to make the difference, to make the connections, to heal wounds, to lift each other up, and to walk in the light and love that is all of ours, called grace. There was a prophet from long ago, Micah, who wrote, what does God require of you? But to act justly, to kindly love, and to walk humbly with your God. Thank you. Have a lovely rest of your evening. It's a pleasure to be with you once again. Thank you.
Thank you. And may each of us let these words be seeds for us to plant within us and to refer to in the days ahead. Thank you so very much for this genuine expression of your faith, and this inspiration to remind us of what we're capable of doing. Thank you, Mark. Right. And at this time, it is our collection time. So a place of worship is grown on love and strong intention. We ask for your support as we strive to grow in love and understanding. As the baskets are passed, we invite you to offer both your spiritual and monetary blessings. And the ushers will be coming forth as we sing, and it's the song that's inside your order of service, Turn, Turn, Turn. All right. And now it's time for announcements. And indeed, with each season, things change. So I'm going to be talking about some of the summer and spring programs, later spring. So Reverend Angie App and Reverend Mark Thomas, both here on the rostrum, will teach part 1 of Spiritual Insight Training, or SIT as it's known, this time in Lilydale, New York on June 6th through 8th. That's if you missed the first part that was at Santosha. And what do you learn there? Students learn how to deepen meditation, to work with healing energy, and how to unfold their inborn intuitive abilities. We all have it. A combined offering of parts 1 and 2 of Spiritual Insight Training will be at the Fellowships Learning Center in Cassadaga, New York on July 17th through 20th, or September 18th through 21st. And more details are on the Fellowship's website. Second announcement, whether you're beginning or are experienced, Reverend Angie App's online confidence and intuition class through Santosha will help you deepen your spiritual intuitive connection. Classes are, there are 3 more classes in the series. They're on Zoom. Classes are next Tuesday, May 13th, Tuesday, May 20th, and Tuesday, June 10th. And that's from 7 to 8:30 p.m. again on Zoom. For those of you who attended Mark Thomas's recent successful neuro-linguistic programming class at Santosha, he is following up with a workshop called NLP Tools for Healing from May 31st through June 1st at Fellowship's Lakeside Center in Cassadaga. And more details are on the Fellowship's website. So here's what's coming up at Fellowships for the summer. And there's much more than this, but these are some of the earlier classes. Upcoming classes include Sound Free Healing Frequencies with Jill Matson on June 14th. And she has devoted many years of her life to this calling. And Reverend Angie App is going to teach Excellence in Mediumship, June 21st through 22nd. Cassandra Butler, who's known in Western New York for her work in astrology, is going to be teaching an ABC's basic course of astrology on June 28th. For those of you who are interested in the stars and their potential effect on us. And Tina Zion's workshop, Become a Medical Intuitive, is July 25th through 27th. If you have fur babies whom you love, hold dear in your life, there's an August workshop on communicating with your pet and understanding your pet more intuitively. That really calls to some people. So I encourage you to go on Fellowship's website and you look under events, and then you can see the array of workshops that are being offered. Something for just about everybody. And it's also more information is, fellowshipspirit.org. That's with 2 S's. Our last worship service of the spring will be here on Wednesday, June 4th. Details on the speaker to follow. We will take a break during the summer while Reverend Angie serves at Lilydale, and we'll resume in this fall. In the meantime, Fellowships of the Spirit has a weekly Sunday Vespers service at 6 p.m. at the Learning Center in Cassadaga through the summer. And so again, on that Fellowship's website, you can get details. It's different than this service. It's sort of an anchoring service to think about the week that just passed and the week that's ahead. And each service is on a certain theme. Just so if that interests you and you're interested in a drive to that beautiful area, just check it out. All right, anything else? All right. At this time, I'm going to turn the service over to Reverend Angie App for the message portion of our service.
Yes, it's first of all, I have to thank Mark for that amazing